Hey y'all, welcome back to the Homesteads and Homeschools podcast. Today is episode number 57, which means, of course, you can find all of today's show notes at homesteadsandhomeschools.com/057. I am your host, the Liberty Hippie, here with you today on this fine Tuesday, delivering this wonderful message, this wonderful experience to you. Anyway, I want to say thank you to those of you who have left reviews. Thank you to those of you who have used the Amazon link, homesteadsandhomeschools.com/Amazon. And to my Patreon supporters out there, I appreciate that as well. All of that helps keep this little show up and running, and it is much appreciated. So on with the show, shall we? My guests today are Mr. Jeremy and Danielle Rhymes. They are the co-hosts of a fancy new little podcast out there, started back in January, called Raising Liberty. And I will let them tell you all about their podcast and all about their adventures and their experiences, and let you guys figure it out. But I will let them tell you all about their experiences and their podcast and anything else that may come up. So let's go plant those liberty seeds with my guests, the Rhymes.
And you, of tender years, can't know the fears that your elders grew by, and so please help them with your youth. They see the truth before they can die. Teach your parents well, their children's hell.
My guests today, I have two guests again. This is the second time that it has happened this way. It's a husband and wife, Jeremy and Danielle Rhymes. They just started a podcast over there called Raising Liberty. There's a few episodes out now, and by the time this thing rolls out to you all, there will be a few more. So go check them out. And Jeremy, Danielle, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Not a problem. So you guys, I know you guys homeschool a bit there, and usually I try to figure out how that happened. Did you guys both go to public school?
Yeah, we did.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what were your thoughts at the time? I mean, was it anything you guys were like railing against, or was it just kind of go with the flow and, take it as it comes, or?
Well, we had two different experiences. Mine, I was more of I never ended up really engaging. There was like maybe twice in 13 years where I had a teacher who really captivated my imagination. So outside of that, it was just a collection of mediocre to poor experiences, which has been, the experience of a lot of people, right? We all have our reasons for looking back and saying, man, I wish I would have done something different besides do what my parents told me to do at 5 and go to school. 5-year-olds don't really have much of a choice, I guess. But Danielle had a different.
Yeah, I went to a smaller school, and so we had a lot of very good teachers, and they were watching out for us even outside of school. So very connected, and but it was smaller, so the opportunities were lacking, and yeah, I just wanted to offer the kids more than that.
I grew up. It wasn't a small school, but I was out there, and there was a lot of smaller schools around me. There's a lot of bigger schools around me, but that was one of the things, right? The opportunities that are lacking when you kind of get out there. I'm curious. Do you think that it was it that there were better teachers, or that was the teacher to student ratio small enough that the teachers had more buy-in with the students, or do you any inkling into that?
Yeah, the student to teacher ratio definitely helped, but also just because we were in such a small town, everyone went to the same church.
Okay.
Just geographically very tight as well.
Okay. Good deal. Very kind of. Everybody knows each other. How big was your graduating class, if I can ask?
Oh wow. I think we had about 100 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
Small.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went with, I think it was like 250 I graduated with, but I know like when you get further like upstate New York, there'd be like classes of 25 and 50, and it's just ridiculous. Right. But all right, so you guys go on to college and stuff, or
well,
both of us did. I went to community college right after high school for a couple of years, goofed around for a little bit and lost my financial aid, had to earn it back, and eventually ended up finishing college out with an online program from a physical university up in Oregon.
Oh, cool.
And then,
oh yeah, and well, we got married when I was 18, so I was just going into college, and I finished mine out online as well, with Western Governors.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. How did you guys like that online experience?
It's better. Anything that adds flexibility to a more standard school curriculum is going to be adding value at the same time.
Oh yeah.
So online is definitely way better. I mean, there's a few things you miss, but it's not like you were going to be able to sit down with your professor and pick their brain anyway, unless you really went out of your way. So the things you miss are small, and things you gain are large. Yeah. I feel like. Yeah.
It's and I imagine between then and now, online schooling has been
much improved.
Yeah, just grown.
Probably, yeah.
I remember some of the
pretty new back then.
Yeah, all the message board kind of classes, and you had to 5 posts for a class. Anyway.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I can't even imagine like trying to do that now. Kids be like, "What?" But all right. So you guys, you have some kids there.
Yes,
I know.
That's true. We had to actually we're recording this in the truck because we couldn't get our 3-year-old to concede to being in some other room. She also wants to watch her pencil mate on the phone, and so we had to come up with a compromise. We had to escape. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, all right. I know how that goes. I have one that is sleeping right now. Actually, thank God, because he was up very late last night and took a nap. So
our kids do. We're trying to fix that right now. The schedule sometimes goes sideways. So it's one of those moments.
So what's your age range there that you're working with?
The oldest is about to be 15, and the youngest is about to be 4.
Okay. All right. Now, was that
9 in all, and we just got it all out of the way
early,
as quick as we could.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that. You have them younger, and you're retired, and you can still kind of play with grandkids, or you wait a little bit longer. And I don't know. I don't think that I'd want to make that cultural shift as like a 35-year-old, and I get used to like just focusing on like me, and then having to focus on this little child that needs every attention. I think it'd be tough, but I don't know.
It'd be a shock.
If you think about when humans go into puberty, I don't think we're meant to wait until we're 35.
Right.
No.
But just as an observation, I'm not trying to point to any greater truth. It's just as animals, we were designed to have kids pretty early.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. So when you guys started having kids, then was the plan to keep them home and do the homeschool route, or were you?
Yeah, ever since it came up and we started talking about it, we were decided on homeschooling.
Yeah, she was pregnant with Abigail. We actually ran through this story because we knew it would come up, and we wanted to get our facts straight because it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's got a better memory than I do. But we landed on she was pregnant with our first child, Abigail, and we'd already decided. It didn't take much conversation. It wasn't a long conversation. We're just I don't want to put them through that. Because I mean, in Oklahoma, our schools are 48th in the nation on most standards. So
and especially here in Lawton, the classes are just overwhelmed. They're way too big.
It's a poor culture. The teachers are always asking for more money and complaining about what they've got, and the students are as disinterested as you would expect in a public school setting. And it's just, everybody learns about 5 awkward sexual things in 2nd grade that they shouldn't know about. And it's we just didn't need any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. We went through kindergarten, but
Right.
Yeah.
pulled them after that. I guess that was the plan from the beginning. What was it that kind of drove you to that? Was it just the school district? Were there other sort of factors involved? Was it like a religious decision? Was it I don't know, other factors went into play there?
It was primarily the just wanting to stay out of the public schools, but also wanting to give them more opportunities and flexibility.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, if you look back on the years you spent in public schools, some people have better experiences than others, but I mean, and not all of us wake up to the opportunities we missed by sitting down 8 hours a day and listening to someone lecture to us. And we actually learn as human beings. We learn so much faster than that when we're enjoying ourselves, when we're interested, and yeah. So yeah, it was all those kinds of things, facts like that. Uh, it was just no contest. Like we could make our kids do all of that stuff and jump through all the hoops and meet teachers that aren't interested in them, and meet friends that aren't good for them. And granted, making friends, that's a thing for homeschoolers. You got to go out of your way, and our kids could use more friends. But I feel like in the net, they've gained a lot more than they've lost, and they'll be able to make friends when they're will make more friends. Yeah. When they get out in the world, when their marketable skills take them out into the marketplace,
Yeah. It's it is something. I don't know. Like we have a little co-op. There's kids that they see at church, and I didn't have a whole lot of friends going through public school. I had a few here and there, like close friends or whatever, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like the opportunities are there. I know talking to people that are thinking about it, that's always their big concern, right? How will they make friends? How will they socialize? And there's so many opportunities out there. Even if it's just kids you kind of meet online and end up hanging out with their parents, that homeschool community just keeps growing.
Yeah.
We tried a co-op for a little while, and it was fun. I taught a class, like most of the parents were teaching classes, so I volunteered, and we had a good time. Had to find out the hard way that when the kids pee in their bed, that smell doesn't go away. They have to then take a shower. It's like ridiculous, the things that you don't learn or are not aware of because you're in your own environment more than you're in any other environment. You just you're blind to. So they had to tell us that, and that was embarrassing. And but then their schedules got caught up, and after that embarrassment, we were a little bit more willing to be like, okay, I guess we don't have time for it this week, or whatever.
Yeah.
Now the kids started taking baths in the morning, and we started.
Okay, to be clear, they were taking baths.
Yeah,
not in the morning.
Right? Yeah. But it's just in the house. You just, and probably makes us look bad, but you just the things that you're used to environmentally, including smells, you don't sense. Even when I go out to work and I come home, home smells like home for the most part. I mean, there are exceptions, but
no, it's very true. It's you do kind of. I'll notice that when we have to go take our littlest one is in like a preschool 2 days a week, and trying to get out the door, and it's like, oh man, we got to brush all this hair today. Like you got to actually put on clothes that like match and like don't have holes in the knees. Like, oh, come on. It takes so much.
It's such a hassle dealing with other people. And at the same time, people are what add value to our lives. Yeah. I mean, almost everything that we can do to add value to our own lives involves accomplishing something that can then be recognized by other people. So certainly we're not isolationists in theory, but in practice, we're kind of isolationists. We've never trusted anybody else to babysit. My mom has done it a few times when we needed to, but like, we didn't even let my brother do it, but like more than once.
How has that gone for you? Because that's the way we were for a long time. Well, not as long as you guys, I guess, but probably the first 5 or 6 years, it was like no babysitters, and
it impacts the way you live. Like Danielle has to stay home
Yeah.
because we aren't going to trust anybody else. And it's probably like the horror stories, and I know that those are one-offs in some cases, and in some cases they're more prevalent than you think.
Hmm.
But maybe we shouldn't be motivated by fear. But my family's gone through a fair amount of experiences. My
Hmm.
aunts um, and I was determined. I grew up with those stories, and I was determined to not, like, none of my kids were gonna come even close to that, to having to live with those kinds of experiences. So we buckled down, and yes, it definitely impacted a lot of our, like, being a single income household meant living poorer, um, and having dependencies we weren't comfortable with. Uh, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny though, that is a big hit kind of in this, in the world we're in today, this single income thing, right? But it's doable, it's manageable, and like you have to make some of those sacrifices. And I don't know, just I feel like people we're not aware that you can make those sacrifices. That it's
right?
Yeah.
okay to drive, something that's not
30 years old.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Like
Yeah.
it's all right.
Oh man, I bought a car off a lot one time. It was also used, and that was a mistake because the guy swindled us. But but I learned to buy from individuals a long time ago, and that also ended up meaning older cars, and usually always a lot less expensive. You're talking
Oh yeah.
1,500 or whatever. Tax time comes and you need a new car, you can do that. Or tax time comes and you have to fix that jalopy you bought last year. You can do that. It's sad, and it wasn't our goal to live in poverty, but we also didn't have clear goals on how we were going to climb out. So that's something that we've been looking at over the past
Yeah.
probably 5 years, being more intentional with it. And I can't say we've gained a lot of ground,
But we're
but
going in the right direction.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. And it's something too that even it's generational, right? Even if like I can't do it myself, I can model the right behavior or the appropriate behavior that gets the outcome, and my kids see that and they pick up on that and they learn and they take those things on to their adult life and they have these ideas and concepts and they can grow from that, But all right, so you did some. What do you use a curriculum? Are you kind of?
We've gone through a few. We've tried out a few, and my favorite resource so far is The Well-Trained Mind.
Okay.
And I still reference that, but we're pretty loose now. We're trying to get into a different mode.
Yeah, just how when they're interested in something, that's when you jump on board.
Mm-hmm.
And until they're interested in something, you're trying to expose them to different things, just general knowledge, see what they bite on.
Yeah. Because I was curious the other day you were talking a little bit about how you kind of work with Abigail, kind of things you implement. It was interesting because it almost sounded like a sort of a hybrid, a little bit of unschooling, but at the same time there is that structure there where it's not completely, I don't know, just let loose and go. So I was kind of curious if that was how you guys juggled that, how you did that. But where did you get like those, that sort of technique or those ideas or?
So lots of different sources. Some of them are hers, and some of them both of us were exposed to. So have you heard of Praxis? Discover Praxis?
Yes.
Okay, that concept. I mean, that's a cool. We're going. That's going to be one of our children's options as they get to that age. But that concept probably influenced what we did for Abigail a little bit, because the whole idea is to skip all the stuff you never needed to learn in the first place or didn't need to learn by itself, like English.
Right.
Yeah.
And just funnel it all into a life skill, something you're going to use, a marketable skill or an interest, ideally always an interest, but at minimum, we want our kids to be able to make their living doing something they don't hate, and then they have time to figure it out. If we didn't get it right, if like they didn't jump on something that they loved and we didn't, double down on something that they loved, at least something that makes them more than comfortable, something that they're well prepared for, that they're good at, and then that, if they want to switch it up, they can later on. But yeah, like the idea of practice, going in and building up to something early. Portfolio. It's just with art, it's pretty clear, and I think it'd be pretty clear no matter what the field. What you want is a portfolio, and ideally a community full of contacts and resources. And so we looked at other artists who were successful, and some of them were successful because of what they offered to other people in terms of instruction. Some of them were almost more business to business. They created art and specific demographics, bought that art. But with her, it's she'll have that portfolio. It'll be on Instagram, but we'll probably also have another digital format. And that'll be good for getting a job if she wants to work for somebody else. But she's also got an Instagram account, and she's pushing towards the like I should have friends by now kind of content, and we're pushing the other way. Like, hey, you're going to read an article today about how to use Instagram to market, your wear, or Instagram marketing. You're going to read an article about Instagram marketing today, and just trying to give her the knowledge so that it's there, because knowledge just has to be seeded, and if they're interested, or if they're already doing, using some part of it, then it'll grow. So we're exposing her to stuff that hopefully, it's exposure. It's also accountability is important. Yeah. I know that there are arguments for, like, if they're interested, you don't have to make them do it. But when
they need to know you're watching, you're paying attention.
Yeah, if you, to us, I guess, and we're probably still a little bit mired in the more traditional, familial, mindset, where kids don't always know what they want, or don't always know what's best. And I don't know how far towards that end of the spectrum. We definitely are. The ideal is that peaceful parenting. I listened to that episode of yours as well. And that's great stuff, and we love that. It's something that's definitely influenced our direction as parents, but anyway, we're still working on that.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, her stuff is really, we just brought it down to bare bones. What's going to get her what she needs, and it's not a heavy curriculum. It's just what will get her into a position when she's 16, when she's 18 for sure, to either go work for anybody because her portfolio is so impressive and so thick and diverse, or work for herself because she's built up a following, and she should be able to monetize that like some other people have done.
Right.
So it just gives her a few, like at least those two unique paths to choose from, and then she can go.
Yeah, I like that. It's and that's too, like, learning to market something. It's even if she, jump ship on art and, who knows what, that you still have those skills. And those are things that, trying to market a podcast, like, those are things I had to kind of try to figure out, and figured them out poorly at best. And, if I had a better grasp of those things, who knows, but I'm kind of curious so you guys have 9, the youngest is going to be 4. How does that work in terms of schooling? I have, 3.5, one's here, 3 days a school week as opposed to 5.
Okay. Well,
right. It's definitely different than traditional schools, right? Because they age segregate in public schools, and everybody just feels like that's the norm by now. Danielle introduced me to a book. I don't think I finished reading it, but it was about when that came about, and how it's not actually traditional schooling. It's a fairly new concept. And
that was you found that book.
Oh, okay.
By I think you should probably know this guy, Connor Boyack, wasn't it that one that talked about the Prussians and
passion-driven education, right?
It was that one.
Yeah. So that was, that had some really cool information in it about the history of education. So when you stop looking at age segregation as an asset, then your mind starts providing you with ideas on how to make the lack thereof work in your favor. And that's kind of like, that's life. That's with everything. Your mindset determines your potential in a lot of ways. Um, so, but she's the one that actually has to deal with the kids on.
The day to day, it's pretty chaotic. There aren't a lot of families that have 9 kids, so we kind of have to figure it out as we go. Is how we've been doing it. But Abigail has her path, and she's been pretty self-driven in doing that herself. We don't have to push her, too much. And I'm trying to get the younger ones reading, and the boys honestly get really distracted with video games. But we're trying to get them on the same path as Abigail. But so that's where we're at right now. I've struggled with not overcomplicating it. I was the good student, and so coming away from trying to recreate school at home, that's been a struggle.
Yeah, that's a huge thing to do. To not just turn it into school at home. And that's tougher than you would think for most folks. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know, I can appreciate what you're doing. I think it's very, very impressive, because I know, like, just with our 3, it can be chaos. It can be crazy. And I haven't.
3, they outnumber you. So.
Yeah,
that's the threshold. When there's more of them than you, that's the threshold.
Yeah. I got to figure out how to make them kind of intermesh a little bit more. Interweave their education more the sort of classical way. But we're working on it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I've never spoken to a parent who had mastered it by the time their kid was done. Like, our kids have to learn while we learn, and that's just it. I mean, there's no other option, unfortunately.
Yep. Yeah.
Give them to our grandparents, I guess, and let them give it another go. But that would be very satisfying.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right. So, I don't know, what's been your biggest hang up with all the homeschooling and everything? I don't know, the trickiest thing, least fulfilling thing, something.
I think it's definitely just what I just talked about, trying to get away from that traditional schooling mindset. Mm-hmm. That's been the hardest. I mean, it's been the hardest thing. And right before we reworked Abigail's curriculum, I had buckled down actually and gone more strict by the well-trained mind. And I don't know if you've ever read that or your wife, but it's very age specific. Like, each grade has specific materials they're supposed to go through and all of that. And I was trying to do that with all 9 of the kids. Mm-hmm. That's just not good for anyone. You have to go with your gut sometimes and do what works instead of trying to force things.
Yeah. It's tough to do. There's so many times when it's like, I know I need to, like, dial back. I know I need to just not do this because it's not going to help anybody right now. And I do it anyway. And it ends up in
competing voices
in
our head.
Yep. But, all right. So you guys have a podcast that you started at the beginning of the year. It's called Raising Liberty. So what's that all about?
Well, that was one problem we had faced when we made the website, is like figuring out what is this actually about, because there's so much you can talk about when it comes to the scope of liberty. It's almost as large as the scope of human action. There's a lot of parallel, and so we boiled the website initially down to, was it health?
Well, no, it was about when we made the turning point from, like, minarchist, ideology more to volunteerism. And so
Okay.
we were focusing on, instead of spreading like political, like trying to work in the political realm, trying to encourage people to start with themselves
Right.
and then move outwards from there.
Self-direction, self-education, self-actualization, all that stuff. Yeah. So that was what the website was. The podcast is just an extension of that idea. We realized that finding a niche can be necessary, but we still ended up with 3 different like kinds of episodes, archetypes, and that's like self-direction, learning, self-education, and then family and homeschooling. And then what was the third
The
one?
other one was just kind of random.
Oh yeah, it's whatever, because we knew there was going to be a bunch of miscellaneous stuff we
Yeah.
still wanted to cover. But just we started a podcast because partly because it's so much more accessible than
Yeah.
it was or it looked 5-10 years ago, and partly because we know and have followed other people who've had a fulfilling experience doing it, and it was also something that they were able to turn around and at least make some living, like make some passive, well, not passive, but
Yeah.
aside, it's like it was a side
Side
gig on
hustle,
top
A
of
little
that.
bit
yeah.
side hustle. Yeah.
So I mean, there was multiple things that drew us into it, and but it's just when you're creating content, you're a little happier with yourself than when you're not.
This is true. I think that's having something to, I don't know, show for what you do, being able to share a little bit of what you already do with your life, with other people that might be interested or might learn from what you do, is, I don't know. I appreciate it. So
Yeah, is that
I
why
hear
you? Is that why you started yours?
more or less, yeah. It was, kind of, yeah.
I noticed you're really consistent. That's really impressive.
Yeah,
We haven't nailed it yet. So
yeah.
It's been tricky. I had to pull some things here and there, but I got it done. But and if people want to find Raising Liberty, where do they go?
They can just go to raisingliberty.com.
And then you guys are on Facebook. Are you on the Twitter and the Instagram and all the rest of that stuff?
And the Instagram.
Not as active over there. No one in town uses Twitter.
Yeah, Oklahoma is not really a Twitter state. So,
yeah. So Facebook's not our profile, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I have a Twitter, but it's like, I'll open it up one day and I'll like tweet a bunch of random stuff and then like won't open it again for another week, So who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, I appreciate you coming on, taking the time out of your day to do this, and hopefully people go check out what you got. I've appreciated what you have out there. It's always nice to listen to other people that do the homeschool thing and kind of get their take on their experiences and try to implement some of what is out there. So.
Right. It's nice to hear other people talk about their mistakes and insecurities and know that you're normal,
right,
and not a total weirdo and alone.
That part of it too, I guess.
Thanks for inviting us, man.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
No problem. So that was the Rhymeses. You can find them, like they said, over at Raising Liberty. And you can get there by going to the show notes, of course, homesteadsandhomeschools.com/057. So if you are going to go to my show notes and you're going to click through to Raising Liberty and you're going to go find it in your podcatcher, you're going to subscribe to that. And you already subscribed to Homesteads and Homeschools. I'm going to give you a little bit of advice here. Go ahead and in your podcatcher, search for the Liberty Hippie Network. That is a network of shows, including Homesteads and Homeschools and Raising Liberty, that all kind of try to generate the same vibe, right? We all kind of look for liberty through a different sort of means, like you might find in all your typical mainstream libertarian shows. We're kind of trying to keep it out there, keep that vibe real. And so yeah, go ahead and find that, search for that, Liberty Hippie Network, subscribe to it, and you will get Raising Liberty, Homesteads and Homeschools, Canvas Heals Me, Peace Freaks, This Week in Liberpods. Wonderful. And of course, if you know of a podcast out there that you think would be a good fit, well, by all means, reach out, let me know, and who knows, maybe it'll end up in the feed. Maybe they will come on to the Liberty Hippie Network. Anyways, folks, that's about all for today. Come back on Thursday. It's the last Thursday of the month when I'm going to be giving you a little recap of things around here. I'm going to try something new. Not new. I'm going to try to bring back some old stuff in a new way. You can find out all about that on Thursday. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Go leave a review if you haven't already. And come back on Thursday, which you haven't done already because it's not Thursday. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you all being out there, helping me out, listening, subscribing, doing all those fun things, sharing. Anyway, appreciate it. Get out there, sow those seeds of liberty. We can all reap sheaves of freedom together.
I'm gonna ride us this dream.